Analyzing why the telling of stories has changed over time is known as historiography. History is just stuff that has already happened, so how hard is it just to retell facts about things that have already taken place, right? It turns out that it isn't so easy. One of the most important skills you can learn in your history classes is to understand how various factors affect how a story is told and even the facts that are included, or left out. First, point of view. Who was telling the story? Time and place. When and where was the story told? Did the person live at the time or much later? Is the event a touchy subject for a particular place? Purpose. Why is the story being told? Audience. Who was the intended listener? Information or details. What is left out of the story? A minority group or undesirable information? Why is that information left out? Accuracy. Did the event happen like it was told? Is the storyteller reliable? Is it a primary or secondary source? If you were to look at a history textbook written 75 years ago, stories about the fight to end slavery before the Civil War might leave out white abolitionists like John Brown altogether. Why was that? He wasn't unknown, he wasn't unimportant. There wasn't a major discovery about him after 1950. The answer is that the civil rights movement in the 1960s made it okay for white Americans to challenge current and past racism that separated blacks and whites in every way. It wasn't hard to believe that a white American would fight for blacks. Textbook writers after the 1960s were free then to include John Brown among other abolitionists. This historical figure, who was considered crazy and radical, was now considered sane to Americans who watched whites and blacks fight discrimination. Another example of historiography is a discussion of slavery concerning our founders. Most of the founders were slaveholders, but this fact is often left out of textbooks because it is unpopular with the audience. One last example is the internment of Japanese Americans during World War II. In our 75-year-old textbook, only one sentence may appear about it, but pages are often devoted to it in current textbooks. History is full of myths that mislead listeners and readers. Most of the time, these myths are told and retold without bad intentions. Most people would also argue that the effect of these stories isn't bad either. So why does historiography matter? Challenging the way history has been told and the myths that are retold helps students become thoughtful citizens. A thoughtful citizen does not justify every action of his or her nation as necessary or good. Instead, a thoughtful citizen wants to learn an honest history. This honest history usually reveals times in which people were divided. Since we all share a common history, it is only through understanding our bad times that we can begin to heal from the lasting effects of these divisions.